So I think it goes without saying that Pain is one of the best villains in Naruto, if not the best. The same could be said about him when comparing him to every other villain in anime. Personally, Pain is my favorite villain in Naruto and second favorite character next to Jiraiya. So yes, I do believe Pain is a better villain than Madara. But I'm not here to talk about how underrated he is as a character, but power-wise. Pain was introduced as the first villain to raise the stakes for the main character, where Naruto has to depend on something other than a rampage to compete. Although he did transform in the fight, but only after he put up a decent fight, which he wouldn't have been able to do in his base form, as we see multiple times throughout his fight with Pain. This alone shows that Pain is a powerful character even by standards of later characters introduced. I'll mainly be focusing on his fight against Naruto because it was the most elaborate fight and where he demonstrated most of his arsenal. That and against the Leaf as well. We start with Pain invading the village and scattering every path across it. The Leaf Village is the largest of the great villages and located in the largest nation, meaning it should have the strongest military in the world, especially since we know most powerful clans originate from it. The Senju, the Uchiha, Hyuga, Nara, Akimichi, and so on. And that's without mentioning powerful individuals that belong to no special clan. But Pain just went in anyway, even though the Leaf was expecting an attack since Fukasaku escaped with intel on Pain, so he was confident enough that he'd be able to go in and out without losing to the strongest army in the world. Arguably the weakest path, the Naraka path, was shown fighting against two Chunin and immediately after was fighting Ebisu, the Jonin, and then fought Konohamaru. Ultimately he lost, but that's the weakest path and alone fighting not very weak ninjas, but he did tank a Rasengan, so that's a big deal. The Preta path was just repelling attacks from multiple Chunin, and then he went to get the chakra receivers on defeated animal paths, so he didn't do much but run away from Kiba and his mom since they use physical attacks. The human path was shown killing a Chunin, but that's all we see of him until he catches Chizune from under her nose, Inoichi's, an Anbu, and Ino's noses. Keep in mind those are two Jonin and an Anbu who are on the same level as a Jonin, and then we got Ino who's a Chunin. Keep in mind Jonin, I know just saying Jonin doesn't mean anything, but Jonin are potentially candidates to be Hokage. Anyway, so he sneaks in undetected with no problem at all and kills Shizune. And the animal path alone was fighting at least 4 Jonin level ninjas, that being Ibiki and multiple Anbu members. And that's the number I got from only one panel, so there are likely more. But it's important to note that the animal path summons were putting up a fight against Gamaken in the Rain Village. Granted, he was outnumbered and ultimately won. That still puts them at least 50% Biju level since Gamaken is Bunta level who's Kyuubi level. The Diva and Azura path fought multiple members of the Akimichi clan led by Kakashi, who alone is Kage level in intelligence and ability, and they all lost. All 8 fighting the Diva path and Azura path lost to only take out one in the process, who was originally caught off guard by the way, so each path of Pain is at least Jonin level. That's the weakest, aka the Naraka path. Also, it's worth mentioning that the Azura path is more durable than you think. He was stumped by the Akimichi clan's expansion technique, and then he took a Chidori. Right after that, I mean, if Pain has his friendly fire off, you can just ignore this feat, but apparently he tanked a Shinra Tensei that took out Choza, kinda Choji, Kakashi, and then the Azura path fired a last missile before dying. So yeah, he's pretty durable. And then the Diva path decides to just destroy the whole village with no trace of it except the Hokage monument. All that, and we haven't yet seen the main fight against Naruto. So basically, Pain was treating all those elites like they were pigs for slaughter. Once Naruto arrives, Pain doesn't pay attention to him, and this is why he loses the Azura path. Now, I don't believe intel is much of a problem against sages such as Naruto and Jiraiya, since the main threat they pose is raw powers. This is the whole dynamic between Rinnegan and Sage Mode or Biju. One is raw power and the other is ability based. Although that's the case, Pain lost half of his paths because of his lack of intel, or simply being off guard like the case with the Azura path. And this here is something stupid on Pain's part, to send the Preta path for a physical fight with Naruto, but he didn't know Naruto had Sage Mode until the Preta path lost. But this should at least show that Pain knows that the Preta path physically is on the level of regular ninjas. This is proven as the Preta path was running away from Kiba and his mom without being caught. The human path dies because the Rasen Shuriken expanded, something even Fukasaku didn't know about, although Pain had dodged it. Now I'm not saying this is unfair, but showing how intel could play a role in the most basic of abilities in the series. And the animal path died pretty easily, but all of this happened while the Diva Path was recharging his abilities. Granted, Naruto in Sage mode would stomp all of them in a physical fight, they were still putting up a fight against a Sage. And for those of you who haven't paid attention, the only ability in the series that was set to put a user in a league of their own was Sage mode. This was Pain after fighting a whole army and using a technique that takes up unusual amounts of chakra before Naruto's arrival. And have I mentioned that he was not trying to kill Naruto but capture him? He had the chance to kill him twice but didn't, and that gave Naruto an opening to act by charging his Sage mode and go on a rampage the second time. Because Hinata came in, that is, and Pain still took her out easily. Even when Naruto transformed, Pain was still keeping up and tanked a Biju bomb from Six Tails Naruto. Granted, it wasn't a direct hit, but he was still caught in the explosion, and then was forced to use another technique that creates a freaking small moon. And then Naruto escaped that with almost a full Biju transformation, and then with the help of Minato, a dead person, Naruto entered Sage mode in the process. Pain was still keeping up, so Pain was essentially pulling a Madara on a smaller scale, but a Madara nonetheless. I believe Pain is the strongest Akatsuki member, not put against each other, but in general. And he still gets downplayed just cause he was introduced early on, something Jiraiya and Hiruzen were victims of. Let me know what you guys think, hope you enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, please, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.